Cup 2023.
In Dunedin earlier, the Netherlands took on Portugal in Group E. The Dutch opened the scoring with the fastest goal of the World Cup so far, as 𝓣𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰's header was given after a lengthy VAR decision. It would turn out to be the winner. Next up for the Netherlands, a match against the group leaders, the USA. That's going to be a tough one for them. And now in the other match today, 51 places separated South Africa from Sweden in the world rankings, but a shock was on the cards when Banyana midfielder Hilda Majaya gave them the lead in the 56th minute. However, 𝓣𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 equalised for Sweden 11 minutes later before Amanda Ilstedt headed a 90th minute winner to deny South Africa a first ever World Cup point. And of course, don't forget that you can watch the highlights of every World Cup match on demand on ITVX. So Jamaica has 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 Marley, daughter of Bob Marley, to thank for rescuing women's football on the island. Her crowdfunding and financial support were key to their survival and built the foundation for qualification to the 2019 World Cup, which saw 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 score the Reggae Girls' first and only World Cup goal. Now, just 4 years on, they have a much stronger side, with manager Lorne Donaldson targeting a historic first World Cup win.
Now that you're here, what's the vibe amongst the team?
I think the vibes is good, you know. We're just listening to some reggae music, vibes in a little bit, you know. The team is in good spirit, and I think they can't wait for the opportunity to go out and play.
And how are you expecting France to play?
I think France is going to just play the way France play, just come at us in waves and attack and attack and attack and send more attack. So we have to be at our best.
What do you need to do to keep control of the game against France?
Well, we've got to make sure we take care of certain areas of the field, you know, especially the wide players. And if we can limit the amount of service we get in the box, you know, then obviously we might be onto something. But we have to defend very, very well.
What's your expectations today?
You know, we want a result. That's why we're here.
Well, it's good to hear that they are in good spirits because they deserve to be. They've had to work incredibly hard off the pitch to get themselves here. I mentioned it earlier. They had to turn to crowdfunding to get themselves to the World Cup tournament. I mean, that would have hampered their preparations, tremendously.
Yeah, for sure. And I've spoken to some of the players, and it definitely did. You know, at times they didn't know when camp was, when, you know, World Cup camps were. You know, they were finding out late. And all I'd say is, you know, I think credit to the likes of 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 for crowdfunding and independent funding, but it's not the responsibility of third parties to do that. It's the responsibility of the Jamaican Federation, who then have, you know, need support from the likes of FIFA. CONCACAF, I think, is still a region that needs more investment in the women's game, and I think we're seeing that with Jamaica. This is now the second World Cup for Jamaica. They're 4 years on as players, better off, but I don't know whether they've still got that financial investment that they need. So I definitely encourage that because these are top players. They're playing around the world in good leagues. They need more support to make them feel like professional athletes when they're representing their country.
But I guess one thing that they have shown is tremendous fight, determination and spirit to get themselves here. And if they show that on the pitch today, then France are in for a tough ride. Let's talk about France because they have a new manager at the helm, but he's only been there for 3 months. Could that be a problem, do you think?
Well, I think 3 months is his total, but that doesn't mean the time that he's had with the squad.
Right.
That's even less, you know, contact with them as people and getting to know them and then also being on the grass. But what we do know from him as a manager, he's very inspirational. And what he's got to do now in this short time is bring harmony to this team. He's brought senior players back, like Wendy Renard, Eugenie 𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓰. He's brought them back in. He's got to galvanise the group. Because when you bring a collective group together, sometimes tactics are great, but it's the heart and soul. And if you can be inspired, which is what this manager can do, Renard, we've seen him what he did in the World Cup, Men's World Cup in Qatar. He galvanised his team and they beat Argentina. So he's got to do this for them today, but they are in a transition. They've got a lot of injuries. For me, it's a big ask, but, you know, I think what Eni said earlier, they'll be preparing more so for the Olympics in Paris next summer as opposed to here, but this is a big, strong foundation that they've got to use to build on.
I think what's important with Hervé Renard as well, he's a tournament coach. So even though it's limited time, he will know exactly, you know, how tournaments go, how to prepare the team, how to inspire them to win the first game, which is always important. We saw in Qatar what he did with Saudi Arabia.
It was brilliant. We were there, weren't we?
Yeah, that viral halftime team talk where he's saying, don't respect Argentina, don't respect Messi. Listen, this is a World Cup, go for it. And if he can bring that mentality to the French girls, as I said earlier, that mentality has hampered them over the years, if he can bring this energy, I love this. You know, this is him saying, I don't care if Messi's on the pitch.
Doesn't matter if it's
I don't care if it's Argentina. This is your opportunity to play at a World Cup and give it your all. And if he can bring that mentality to France, I think they can go one step further. It's going to give them extra energy.
And that's exactly what they've needed because of the tumultuous dressing room that they've been part of, for 3 years under the previous manager. They need that breath of fresh air, and that's what he will bring.
Just harmony, Seema, just harmony. Everyone's in it together, one group. And to be fair, they do look really happy. And I'd say usually the summer, that's the best I've seen in a while. Just looks happy.
Great stuff. Well, only the top 2 teams will qualify for the knockout stage at this tournament. So in a group which also features Brazil, France and Jamaica cannot afford a slow start in Sydney. Now we're edging closer to kick off. The 2 teams will be with us when we return. We'll see you in a moment.
Coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.
We are moments away from kick-off in Sydney at the Sydney Football Stadium. Great to see the fans there. They look like they're having fun, don't they? Not sure if it's raining there. Doesn't look very warm, does it? I thought it would be warmer out there. It is indeed. But look, let's have a quick chat about Jamaica in a little bit more detail, because there are a couple of players in the WSL that we should be watching out for. Who are they, Annie?
Yeah, Drew Spence is a player that me and Kaz know very well. We played with her at Chelsea. She had 10 plus years at Chelsea. Very, very experienced player. There she is there. And I think Drew brings a level of experience and calmness to the midfield that Jamaica will need. Very creative player. Gets forward as well in terms of the goals. So it's really important that Drew has a good game, because I think it settles the nerves of Jamaica. She'll bring a level of composure and control to the team, as we've seen her do over many years, particularly at Chelsea.
Now, this group, Group F, it's a tough one, isn't it? The only group with two sides in the top 8. How important is it for them to get off to a winning start today?
It isn't, and I keep mentioning about momentum in tournament football. You know, momentum is key, but getting 3 points on the opening game just sets you on your way. And as you said, Brazil are in their group as well. You know, I wouldn't want to play them. That's a big ask. But you know, it's going to be. I think for Jamaica, they've just got to stay in the game defensively and manage. The fullbacks have got to be good, because France attack really well down the width. The fullbacks bomb on, wingers are good. You've got to stay in the game and give Bunny Shaw an opportunity. It only takes one chance, but they're going to have to be at the best defensively today, Jamaica.
Well, France have never been involved in a goalless draw at a World Cup. Jamaica look like they are ready to make their mark. We are set and ready for this match, so it's now time to join our commentators. Emma Hayes is alongside Sam Matterface.
Thank you, Seema. Well, there aren't many inside the Sydney Football Stadium that expect anything other than a victory over Jamaica for the Euro semi-finalists. But the odds were against New Zealand on opening day and Nigeria before the weekend too. The start of a World Cup is where anything can happen. And if anyone knows that, it's the coach that caused the biggest shock in Qatar, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. And after a period of fallouts and fractured relationships, both France and Jamaica are looking to create a new chapter. We'll discover what surprises are in store after we've heard the national anthems. France and Jamaica have never met before. Their first tussle comes live next.
Dreaming big. Xero accounting software proudly sponsors ITV's coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.
Did you know you can go premium with ITVX to get ad-free streaming and more shows from BritBox? Sign up for a
ITV's coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.
A cool 11 degrees and raining in the Sydney Football Stadium, which sits next door to the iconic and famous Sydney Cricket Ground. And a 7-minute cab ride inland from the Sydney Opera House. Our referee is Maria Carvajal of Chile tonight. Our VAR, Nicholas Gallo. Keeping an eye on incidents from on high in the VAR room. And we've had quite a few interventions up until this point. Well, 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 has lost the services of two certain starters, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 and 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 through injury, but Randy Renard is back to marshal the defence. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 in midfield had a cracking season at Villa, but doesn't make the starting 11. No French woman has played more World Cup games than 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, an experienced focal point to the attack that will benefit from a midfield that will press high and look to turn the ball over inside the Jamaican half. Jamaica taking part in only their second World Cup. They have a few players making World Cup debuts, including Tottenham goalkeeper Rebecca Spencer. Drew Spence, who played for Emma Hayes at Chelsea for years, was capped twice by England before switching her allegiances to Jamaica. They possess speed on the break, and in 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓷𝓰 of Manchester City, they have one of the WSL's best strikers. Jamaica in the black, France in the blue. France missing a player in 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who could be the breakout star, and two players who made their mark at the Euros a year ago. But others have to be primed to step up. Chelsea's Emma Hayes is with me, new manager, settled camp, but injuries have robbed France of those key players. How does that level the playing field?
Well, I think the fact that there's a mixed bag in performances in the build-up to this means that there's a bit of an unknown. I think for me the interesting thing will be, well, what will they do in midfield areas, because particularly in those three games they've really struggled to create clear shots, so today will be interesting.
Early break forward by Sakina Karshui. Guilloro. France have produced the dominant force in European club football over the last 12 years, but Lyon's success has not translated to international success for France yet. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰 is hoping to change that. Took over from Corinne Diacre in March, twice a winner of the men's AFCON, and was in charge of Saudi Arabia when they beat Argentina at the last World Cup. Why do you think that success for Lyon hasn't translated to the international stage?
Well, I think there's a number of internationals playing at Lyon that play a part in that. There is a talented group, but they've lost some key players in the build-up to this tournament, and I think for that reason there is some indecision. They've got Estelle Cascarino coming in, hasn't played much the previous season.
Renard driving forward. Challenge over on that far side, and Shayna Matthews under pressure from 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
What we will see from Jamaica is a team that are comfortable without the ball. Yes, I think there'll be spaces vertically between their lines, but what they will do well is counter through the pace, particularly in the wide areas. Brown and Blackwood.
Early free kick for France to deal with. Renard taking charge. First corner of the game. Ron Donnison took over just before the CONCACAF Championship last year, led Jamaica to the bronze medal. Most of his previous career was in the US. He is a former Jamaica international. It's 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 Blackwood, who's about to take this corner kick from the far side. Played every minute at the last World Cup. Aimed in towards Shaw. Back into a congested penalty area. And there is a problem here because of a clash of heads. It needs to be dealt with, and the referee eventually calls halt to proceedings.
That's the right thing. You could see immediately. I mean, what respect France show for 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 with the number of players they've got inside the width of the goal. Very low, very central.
Well, she is a goal machine. 31 in 30 in all competitions last season for Manchester City. Bunny Shaw. And certainly Renard would have been making plans to deal with her. It is Renard's first job in women's football, and one of his big aims has been to make the atmosphere a little bit more relaxed around the training camp. There was an intensity under Corinne Diacre which many didn't enjoy. Wendy Renard was certainly part of that. And back in the early part of the year, refused to play for the national team until she was moved on, Diacre, and that happened very quickly afterwards, which probably shows her importance to the team and her influence within the group.
Well, absolutely, especially that back four has changed even in the last 4 games. Her leadership is critical, and so is the way she defends this player, a player that takes the most number of shots in the WSL.
The nickname Bunny comes from the fact that she liked carrots as a kid. You might have heard Seema bring that up.
I mean, what a battle that is between those two. Probably 2 of the best in the world aerially. And while I think France in particular from set pieces will be a huge threat in this game, so are Jamaica.
Uncontested drop ball. Leon Sampson of Hearts will receive it, and Jamaica will look to build from here. France very quickly out to try and stop them from doing so. Chance for Jodie Brown to try and get in behind. There was a slip there. France haven't settled in the way that they would have hoped, and if you look back at their last few performances, their recent game with Australia, they looked a little bit nervy at times and not quite up to it physically. It might have been to do with the fact that they only just arrived in the country when they played against the host nation a couple of days ago in a pre-tournament friendly.
Well, I think the fact that Cascarino has come into the team, I think, is certainly going to disrupt them a little bit. De Almeida either not fit or available.
Brown looking to release Shaw. Tied up by Renard. Pauline Perrault-Magnan, the Juventus goalkeeper, having to come well outside her penalty area to deal with that situation.
Well, good start from Jamaica. As I mentioned before, got to expect this team to look to counter through their wide players, but Shaw, such a great hold-up player.
Shaw trying to square that into the centre. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 trying to latch onto the end of it. It's good work by Clara Mateo, playing a little bit deeper there and swinging the ball out to 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who likes to get forward from that left-hand side. Diani chasing away, and 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 scuppered her progress.
That's what we will see throughout this game. 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 bombing on that left-hand side. You see Diani looking to get ahead of 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. There's a more natural tendency to stretch.
Drew Spence, who had a stellar career in the WSL, 5 titles with Chelsea, 4 FA Cups, great asset. And she's versatile, she can play anywhere. You've had her for a long time.
I mean, she led Spurs for expected assists and was definitely one of their main producers in the season.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Decent looking cross, which was dealt with by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
This is the set piece I'm talking about. Something interesting France have been doing. They look to start so deep. Look at those numbers outside of the box. They want the 1v1 duels, but no players, I think, inside the 6 yards. It's all about mismatches.
Well, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 will take the corner kick from the near side. Into that near post area where I think she was hoping for a few more to attack it. Brown wins it back. This is Blackwood away. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓲 thought she was fouled by Bunny Shaw. That's going to be a free kick.
I was noticing in the set piece lineup, Primus up alongside Renard. I think there's an opportunity for France if the delivery's right. I think you don't want to be conceding free kicks from these areas. This is what France want.
Wendy Renard, such a threat from set pieces, especially at the last World Cup where she scored several goals, and 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲 lining one up once again.
Especially with her delivery.
Aimed in towards Renard, who will flick that on towards the far post. There's a bit of confusion. Eventually dealt with and away by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
I know we were talking about why 𝓳𝓸𝓲 wasn't starting today, but I think Masri and her ability, particularly from set pieces, could be one of the reasons.
Kenza Dali had such a terrific season at Aston Villa, who themselves had a very good campaign in the WSL. I thought she might have picked up an injury if she wasn't in the starting lineup, but as you say, the delivery from set pieces from Amel Madri, who is back on the pitch just a year after the birth of her daughter. Something to contend with.
Masri's a brilliant player. I know she's not long been back, but she's a wizard on the ball.
Slightly different formation for France, isn't it? Under the previous manager, they played 3 at the back a lot. Renard has always favoured a 4 wherever he's been managing. His previous guises, you saw with Saudi Arabia, he still wants his team to play, and he's certainly got the players to do that with France. This is Mateo. Blackwood with the initial block. Mateo again. On the overlap is 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. This was just a little bit too deep. It's the first sign of what the Hervé Renard side can produce when given a little bit of room.
Well, it's hard to see what France's shape is in possession, though they've traditionally played a 4-3-3 under this manager. It looks like 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 playing down the middle with 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, and Masri's almost taking up this 10 position to allow 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 to take the outside spaces on the left. And I think it's what France needs. I think they need 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 in the central areas. That lack of presence without Katoto, I think, has hurt them.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 recalled after 2 years without a cap under Corinne Diacre. Her reign littered by fallouts and controversies. There's more than a few in the squad that are pleased to see the back of the former manager, and 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 will be one of them. 179th cap tonight, 89 goals. Since being recalled, she scored 3 in the last 3. This is a bit of a worry for Jamaica. Jodie Brown going down. And there wasn't too much of a hefty challenge, was there, from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰?
No, but she took it on her Achilles. I mean, 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, you know what you're going to get. This is a player so intelligent. She will look to link with the midfield players. And I think with a Jamaican team that will have a deep back line, it's important for 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 to keep stretching.
Here comes Short, difficult to contain. She's doing everything they can to try and do just that. Not an easy thing to do. And Clara Mateo, whose natural instinct isn't to get back and defend like that, has picked up the first yellow card of the game.
Now, what brilliant play by Shaw, carrying the ball up the pitch. She's going to have to do that. You could see Blackwood in advance. Brings a team a brilliant free kick in a good situation.
First yellow card of the game goes to Clara Mateo of Paris. Blackwood's delivery is a good one, and 𝓤𝓷𝓲 with the header. And there were 1 or 2 joining there, which just unsettled that French defence.
All over the place defensively from set pieces, or at least from that free kick.
How long does it take to sort of get those regimes, those processes in place when you're a manager? Because, as the girls were saying before the game, you can have 3 months in charge, but it's not really 3 months in charge, is it?
You know what really takes time? You imagine Cascarino having to come into that today. You know, they have to work together as a unit, and that takes a while, unfortunately.
Mateo looking to try and release 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 down that left-hand side, but didn't quite get the angle on the pass correct. As Becky Spencer was once in the England senior squad 7 years ago. Didn't make an appearance for the Lionesses.
She will run the build-up for Jamaica. You won't see build-up. You'll see lots of longer balls like that from Spencer, forcing free kicks. Everybody talks about Khadija Shaw and her shots in the league. One of the most remarkable things about her is that she's influential in the link-up play.
She created the only goal that Jamaica ever scored at a World Cup finals.
She sat 12th in our league for key passes and assists. Exceptional player.
And managed to score 30 goals and 31 in all competitions. It's not bad, is it?
Yeah, she really is top player.
Blackwood driving the ball towards the edge of the box. Spence couldn't quite bring it under control. Away by Renard. Back in by Primus. Renard once again. Brown out to chase. 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 making a nuisance of herself. That's the France ball.
Well, certainly 15 minutes of dead ball situations. Very physical by both teams. We were talking about this off air, you know, how great the World Cup is. Games are so much closer than 4 years ago. Tight affairs.
Shaw. Spencer's gone down the left-hand side. She ran into traffic there, Barney Shaw. Primus. That's Wilshere. Shayna Matthews. This is Ian Sampson. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Matthews. Thomas diving in.
I certainly think good start from Jamaica. Good pressure early on. Certainly looking to capitalise on Cascarino's inclusion into the team. You can see that's where the press has been set for.
Well, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is such a reliable player in the build-up to the way that France like to play. Picks the ball up, she plays on the other side to Renard as well. So Cascarino's had to play on the left-hand side of this back four, which has just upset things for her.
Absolutely. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 is key for them. She looks to find those passes into the inner corridors, and from there they create these wide triangles. But you see that plus almost a shape change makes them look unsettled.
Interesting time to try such a shape change, isn't it, on the opening day of your World Cup campaign?
It is, but they've struggled to create chances.
Diani. Might be able to create something here. This is 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Very difficult to try and outpace Shayna Matthews.
And I think if you're in his position, he's only been there, what, 3 months, doesn't have that many games. The last 3 games, they've only generated 3 chances worth more than 0.25 XG. That's incredibly low, Sam.
Well, if you go back over the course of the last year, they'd actually been in reasonably good form in terms of results, even if they hadn't always played that well. They ran Germany close in the semi-final at Milton Keynes last year. But if you watch their game against Australia, even their game against Ireland, they didn't look as if they were going to create loads of chances.
Katoto is a huge loss to this team.
Short trying to maximise Jamaica's good start. This is 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Matthews, a bit of a tussle, comes back to Primus again, and France looking a little bit desperate trying to get it clear.
And certainly for the opening 20 minutes, Jamaica have had the better of the game. They've won the tussles in the middle of the park. They certainly got a better shape and organisation about them.
No score, 20 minutes gone. Wilshere into Shaw, holds it up so well. Quite work its way to Jodie Brown, and 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 can bring it clear. She's a good player, isn't she, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲?
Yeah, I've heard it from Kaz Carney.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 just not being able to get it under control.
I think the challenge with France playing 2 in the middle of the pitch is it means 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲's got to play a little bit lower. I think that limits some of their goal threat.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Just running into a little bit of traffic down that left-hand side. They themselves almost playing 4-4-2 today. Renard's team matching up the Jamaican formation. A little bit hefty from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, looking for 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 Blackwood. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷. Lacroix picking up the loose ball. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷. Offside flag is up against 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Interesting to see that 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓴𝓼 has decided to play 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 down this right-hand side on the ball there. We have a very useful right-back at Chelsea in 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who is not in the starting lineup.
No, it's a manager's preference. He wants to play with 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, which is very attacking. You can see so much of France's play will be about can they get into the wide spaces, create wide triangles and put balls in the box. The challenge with that is you don't have the likes of Katoto. And 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is prolific as a wide player. She's learned to play as a number 9 this year. It's not necessarily her preferred or natural position.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 playing at the heart of the defence with Wendy Renard tonight, but they are missing Delphine Cascarino and Marie-Antoinette Katoto, who are two very important players for this group, and certainly were last year at the Women's Euros.
You've got Amandine Henry, no Basher on the pitch. A lot of good players.
Chantal Swaby is lining up a long throw into the French box. It's quite an obvious pullback by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 and a first yellow card.
Oh, 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 showing her pace and power to burst out in the transition.
She's the daughter of the former Premier League defender Limvoy Primus.
Yeah, she was with us as a youngster at Chelsea. Very tenacious.
I know her grandparents have tuned in today to watch the first of her appearances at this summer's World Cup. Her dad Limvoy and mum Trish have travelled out to Sydney to follow her progress. He's a free agent at the start of the season. 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 didn't quite manage to find its way out towards this near side. Matteo is lurking with intent. Somea, Lacra, Matteo trying to squeeze that ball into a dangerous area. Less than Swaby had to do her diligence and deal with that.
Well, at least last two passages of play saw the French team attacking down this right-hand side, but still looking across at the box. Don't have the numbers.
I think he will be pretty pleased with the way his team has started the game.
Absolutely. And it's about playing to their strengths. They know with Shaw they have a world-class centre-forward. Becky Shaw, certainly someone got great distribution from the deep spaces. They'll be very direct in what they're looking to do.
Jamaica know they have to remain disciplined, especially when they don't have the ball, in order to get great success, but they know that they can maximise the swashbuckling style of Bonnie Shaw. Taletti thinks she's been fouled. Shaw's allowed to continue. Still going. France look frightened of her. Blackwood.
And they should be. She terrorised defences this year. Extremely difficult to play against. And improved so much. Have to credit her club, Manchester City. I think her game, her all-round game has developed this year.
Swaby running into trouble, but rescued by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓰.
Because it's easy to talk about that player's ability to stretch in behind, but I think what she's done so well, particularly the last 12 months, is how she's brought others into play, how she's linked up, how she's worked at that.
It's good football from Jamaica. Samir. France need to get hold of the ball. Spence might have been guilty of leaving something on 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. The referee eventually has spotted that, pulled it back. It's going to be a free kick to France.
Very compact, Jamaica in that midfield, making it difficult for France to get the ball beyond the midfield line. Look how low 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is coming.
Stopped the ball so far, so having to drop deep to try and find it.
Well, that was what I was worried about for Jamaica, was the spaces between their midfield and back line, but so far been very compact.
Well, this is the test. Another set piece. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 to deliver from another wide area. Renard up from the back. Left-footed ball towards Renard. It's flicked on, and Becky Spencer is there with safe hands. Lots of experience. WSL runner-up with Chelsea in 2018, Becky Spencer. Played a couple of league games, I think, that year for you.
She did, but I also had her as a youngster when I was at Arsenal. She's a tremendous person.
Shayna Matthews taking on 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, just overrunning the ball.
You see Renard, unbelievable target, extremely difficult to defend against. And they don't use blocks or any decoys, very 1v1 in what they're doing. They back themselves to win their mismatches.
She's a commanding presence, and she scored 4 at the last World Cup. She is the tallest player on the pitch by some distance, 6'2".
Sam, she's an absolute nightmare to defend. If it's in the right space, it's going into the back of the net.
146th cap tonight for Wendy Renard, who I think, even by her own admission, hasn't been in the best of form.
She's human. She's also having to manage different relationships alongside her for both club and country.
Shaw in the wars again.
Just hit the cheekbone.
Sandwiched between 2 blue shirts. He might need 2 to stop it. He knows he's got a Germany's back, that's for sure. And we've got a gem for you tomorrow, a triple header. Italy against Argentina, underway at 6:30 tomorrow, ITV1 and STV. Straight after that, it's Germany against Morocco. Looking forward to that, 9:05 tomorrow, ITV1 and STV. And we finish up with Brazil against Panama, 11:35 AM. That's on ITV1 and STV. And all the highlights available, as you would expect, on ITVX as well. Looking forward to seeing Germany tomorrow, led by Alexandra Popp. I think she was a bit disappointed to miss out on the Euros final. Obviously, we weren't disappointed that she missed out on that.
It's just great getting 3 games a day.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Went to Manchester United on loan in January, but she didn't get too many opportunities there, did she?
She didn't. And I think Jamaica looked to capitalise on that in the first part of the game. And while I don't think the game has had much of a rhythm, been quite disjointed, a lot of free kicks.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 away, looking for Diani.
France have to do better, they really do. I think they've struggled, one, to get a foot on a stranglehold on the game, and secondly, seem to lack clarity about what their best route to goal is.
Blackwood looking for Matthews. Spence couldn't quite reach the ball. He's been challenged that by Tierney Wiltshire. This is 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Another turnover in the middle of the park. It has been a little bit helter-skelter at times, and I think we've had some hectic starts, haven't we, in some of the matches. The England match yesterday in particular was a little bit eager at times.
I think everybody's expecting, look at lineups or look at teams, and that it's going to be one-sided affairs, and it isn't. It's much more parity between teams, which is why this is, without doubt, the best World Cup.
This is 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 just requiring a bigger turning circle than was available to her. Sure. She saw the space over on that far side, invited Trainer Matthews to go and try and dart over and find it. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 was alert to the danger. Cascarino.
This is where France have to be better. You know, Jamaica are not high pressing, but they're struggling to break the midfield line. And if the space isn't on the inside, then go on the outside. And maybe more indirect play like this is needed.
Macra is better. Mateo gets it back to 𝓬𝓱𝓪. Cascarino. 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. It's a little bit loose from her, and it's now Bunny Shaw who can turn the ball over, but she's a little bit isolated. Dragged down by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
I mean, the work Shaw's done so far for her team is exceptional. Because Jamaica were forced low. Draws another free kick, taking 3 or 4 players, take her out of the game. How many loose passes have there been for France?
Probably too many for France, and that's something that 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 will probably be addressing at half-time, or looking to address at half-time. Sadly, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 missed 2 years of international football. He's the kind of anchor, supposed to be the anchor in that midfield. Blackwood, harassed by Diani. Samer darting forward. No problems for Chantal Swaby, who plays in France. This is her sister Alison Swaby, who was playing a bit for Angel City last season before being loaned to PSG. There are some connections. Space here for Clara Mateo, and now Diani. A chance and a stop by Spencer. He spoons it round the post and out for a corner. And the first real threat that Diani has shown.
And a successful switch brought Mateo into the game. Lovely little slip pass to Diani. I think he does the best. Forced a little wide. Spencer keeps her eye on it.
Second corner of the game for France. And the first one, you saw everybody in blue lined up on the edge of the penalty area and darting towards the near post. It was just a little bit short. This one right under the goalkeeper. And Spencer does just enough under pressure from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷.
I think it's more of a miss from Renard. And as I said, they rely on mismatches. And she lost her marker. And she should score.
Spencer coming in almost behind her, getting her fists on the ball, but Renard will feel as if that was a big opportunity for her.
I mean, there's a significant height advantage.
Maybe a little bit late there from Cascarino and Matthews, and then another feisty challenge from Shaw. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 gone to the floor. That's a yellow card for Bunny Shaw, who is not happy about it at all. Third yellow card of the game. And these do rack up over the course of the tournament.
Well, you can see why it was caught her over the top of her foot, but Jamaica seem aggrieved. They should have been given an earlier foul.
Chaina Matthews felt that she was heftily dealt with just prior to that incident.
But as their manager said before the game, they're here to compete, they're here to win. I think it's great to see nations that have not necessarily been afforded the same opportunities as the top teams in the world, showing themselves in a really good way.
We highlighted it earlier, just prior to the tournament, the players posted an open letter on social media slamming the Jamaica Football Federation for subpar planning, transportation, accommodations, training conditions, compensation, communication, nutrition and accessibility to proper resources. It's not a short list.
Well, they're not letting their country down the way they're playing.
Just another example, I think, of a game that's rapidly developing, but maybe rapidly developing unevenly.
No, absolutely.
There's certainly nothing uneven about this opening 39 minutes.
But this isn't unusual for France. They've underperformed many times in the earliest parts of the game. And Renard, certainly we've seen, will look to sort some of that for the second half. But listen, it's an opening game. I think all of us expect perfect performances. It's not like that.
We saw it last year in the Euros as well, didn't we? England didn't have a great performance in their opening night at Old Trafford and then went on to perform spectacularly over the course of the tournament. Sometimes takes teams a little while to warm in. Even Australia struggled in their opening game of the tournament against Ireland, who I thought played really well on Thursday.
It's just no easy route to qualify, and that's how, you know, it's what everybody around the world is working towards. I think Drew Spence has had a really good first half. He's broken things up in the middle of the pitch, used all of her experience. And I think her and Primus have been very solid.
Shaw taking it in so well. Winning another free kick. She protects the ball well. She draws players towards her. She draws free kicks.
And Jamaica so smart, just putting balls in towards her, knowing incredibly difficult to dispossess. And so far, all France have done is foul her in key areas. And I look at the overload on the back post here for Jamaica.
Initially lined up with quite a high line, France, on the edge of the penalty area. Pauline Perrault-Magnon, the goalkeeper, just trying to reorganise. Shaw and Blackwood standing over it. Shaw looks like she wants to thump it. Five minutes to go before half-time. It's Bunny Shaw, and it's a tester for Perrault-Magnon.
Oh, what a confident strike from Shaw. Really was. Nothing else on her mind. Thought that maybe that was going to be a corner.
I think she got a little touch on it. Didn't quite get the replay that showed us that angle. This is the second successive World Cup for Jamaica. They were the first Caribbean nation to ever compete at a Women's World Cup. There's a foul and then a handball from Clara Mateo. She gets the free kick. Jamaica failed to pick up a point at the 2019 World Cup, but they have come here with an experienced squad, many of whom play in the European leagues and US. They've recruited a couple of newbies as well from the WSL. And they have been more than a match for France in the opening 43 minutes we've had so far.
Once again, you see how they're struggling to access that space behind Jamaica's a very narrow four. In general, Jamaica's defending has been very narrow, very compact.
Such a good example of it there, wasn't it? It just, as the ball went over their head, you could see them all perfectly together in a very short space. Samir, Blackwood away. Brown threatening to get in behind, but Renard equal to the danger. The best distribution from the captain.
I think it's been poor all round from France. They've looked unsettled, they've looked disjointed. They look like a team in transition.
Well, both are in a sense. Donaldson, the manager of Jamaica, and Renard both have something in common. They have both come in after unpopular coaches that the players have effectively removed.
But Jamaica's got a number 9 that is the leader of the team. And they're always going to be in the game because of her.
Diani chasing. Swabi across. Diani. Now she's back defending as well. Kashui. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓷𝓰. Jodie Brown back to help out. France have managed to keep hold of the ball, and then 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰's pass down towards the right didn't quite work out. Renard and Shaw in another tussle. Just the 5 minutes added on at the end of this first half. It's a reasonably moderate around, isn't it? 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰 pulls it back and didn't quite find the intended target. Mateo was in there. Slight mistake by Ryan Sampson. Could have caused problems for Jamaica.
Well, certainly the best attacking parts of France's play is down this right-hand side, but the ball I don't even think was intended for 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓰.
𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓰's delivery back into the area was sort of betwixt the two, wasn't it? It was not really a cutback. It didn't fizz through the 6-yard box. It was behind the two strikers that were coming into the area.
Well, you can see the intention from France. They want to play with high fullbacks and push their wide players inside and look for them on the cutbacks, because the two midfielders for France are too deep.
Samir rolls Blackwood. Can't get the cross in.
We barely mentioned Samir this first half. That's how little she's been in possession, how difficult it's been for her to get on the ball.
Well, you were concerned about her when we were talking earlier on, weren't you? You were concerned about the fact that she was the focal point of this attack.
Absolutely, because I think she's between a 9 and a 10. And I think if you've got a player dropping in like that, you're going to have someone stretching behind. The challenge you have is 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is much better suited when she plays on the right-hand side.
Maybe a late chance in this first half for France to strike. Amel Mashri with another chance to deliver one of those wicked left-footed balls just in front of that 6-yard box. Wendy Renard round the back, looking to try and get on it. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 just at that front post.
I think this is where their strength lies, in dead ball situations.
The referee clearly stopped the game.
Commentators curse that. She hits a terrible ball.
Luckily for her, she's going to get a chance to do it again. Aimed towards that near post. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 was going towards it. Dealt with well by Tierney Wiltshire.
I mean, I don't understand why they're not putting the ball into an area for Renard to attack. They've done it once and it nearly resulted in a goal.
Back in by Mashri, and Spencer had to be alert. Backpedaling and ended up having to nudge the ball behind. Just spotted Spencer off the line here.
Well, Spencer does well, moves her feet really quickly.
Another corner for France, their third of the game. Again, they're lined up on the edge of the box with just 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 inside the 6-yard area. Saimed in towards Renard, who flicks it on. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓷𝓰. Decent looking cross. Couldn't make the most of it. Brown. Jamaica can't spring a counter-attack. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, good control, deflection, narrowly wide. It's the best chance they've had and the closest they've come to piercing the Jamaican defence.
Well, brilliant close control from 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰. Sends Rebecca Spencer the wrong way because of the deflection. But all of this is coming from dead ball situations, and they're keeping the ball alive in the second and third phases.
Another one right under the goalkeeper. Shaw away, back in by Clara Mateo. And Mateo again. He felt she was caught right on the edge of the box by Jana Matthews. That might be the last action of the first half. A first half where, let's be honest, Jamaica have performed particularly well. And this is probably the best moment for France of that first 45 minutes. Another bit of good defending by Jamaica, who have been led by Bunny Shaw and have been a real thorn in France's side. France were rated group favourites and dark horses for the tournament, but Jamaica proving more than a match for them in that opening 45 minutes. Eni Aluko and Karen Carney will pick over that first half next with Sima. But at half-time, it is France 0, Jamaica 0.
Xero accounting software proudly sponsors ITV's coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.
Welcome back. It's the first time we've had a glimpse of Group F in action. I'll tell you something, it has not disappointed. It's actually been a rather physical opening 45 minutes. You'd have to say 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 has had the best of the chances, but neither team has managed to find the breakthrough as of yet. You've got to say that Jamaica, with their hampered preparations coming into this World Cup, have done remarkably well. A lot for them to be proud of as they've managed to keep this France side at bay. Look, plenty to talk about. Let's get straight to it. Let's talk more about Jamaica because they have worked hard to win that ball back. They're not afraid to press.
No, their organisation has been absolutely fantastic. I'm going to show some clips now how good the managers set them up, and their pressing has been really good. From throw-ins, here you see France trying to play down that side, but Brown really good, quick onto it. What they do well is they press any negative pass. Any pass backwards, they've been brilliant. And 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 highlighted has been instrumental in anything she tries to nick and not allowing France to play it at all. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 up to the ball. Can she win it? Okay, she drops into chase. Brown then gets out, but she blocks any passes so France can't play forward. So they're always forcing them back. 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 straight out to it. Can she win it? Nearly. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 out. Can you nick and win it? Brown out. So they're always on it, and there's nowhere for France to go. And it's really good, and France can't get into the rhythm. And I must say, he has set them up, the manager, outstanding, really good. And we said, stay in the game, that's what they're doing, because they've got 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who I think will get one chance, but defensively, brilliant.
How much has she had to adapt her role today?
Well, I mean, we talked about how much of a leader she is for this team, and she has shown fantastic leadership. Excellent centre-forward play, because as that lone forward, you do sometimes have to carry your team up the pitch, settle into the game, lead the press. You see here, fantastic play. She's leading her team up. That allows the team to get right up the pitch. She draws a foul, and then that allows them to set up a set piece in France's half. Again here, uses her body. The only thing I would say, can she play and release the ball to 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 in that moment, who's ahead of her, because she's playing a little bit on her own. But this is fearless leadership as a centre forward. Again, right, I'm getting in the box. I'm creating a chance for my team. 23 touches 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 had in this first half. The only thing is none have been in the box, so the wingers have to try and get into the game so 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 can stay higher. Again, brilliant play there, and this is fantastic. You know, first game in the World Cup, I'm going to have a go. Great free kick, and obviously Manning saves it. But it's been brilliant leadership and centre-forward play. The wingers just need to get more into the game so she can stay higher and be more of a goal threat in the box.
She's been great to watch, hasn't she? We always love watching her. What about 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰 for France? She's had the better of the chances for this France side.
She had one half chance and then one decent chance towards the end there. But I think, again, going back to Jamaica, they really nullified France's threats. For me, France are really good down the flanks, wide areas, but they haven't just switched it out quick enough. But the two chances we have seen, and these are them here, 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰 there were just highlighted. This is where they are, catching them on the transition, quick touch. It's a low shot, so it might have caught Becky Spencer out, but she saved it. This one is probably the better one. To be fair to France, they hunt, they press, they win it back. They're out of shape, Jamaica, for the one chance. Great first touch, brings it down, and then it's just deflected off 𝓤𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰. But they're the chances. You have to credit Jamaica. They're the best chances that France have had, and they've nullified them. But I've been disappointed with France in attack. They've got to move the ball quicker and use the flanks way more than they have.
France haven't found their rhythm. The possession play that they play, they need rhythm. And what Jamaica have done, and Kaz has identified, is they've stopped that rhythm. They've had the odd chance here and there, but they've stopped that rhythm. They've stopped that sort of possession play. 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓷𝓰 hasn't really been in the game as much as 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 has. So I think they've really done that well. And
if they can keep it up now,
if they can continue that in the second half, absolutely. They'll frustrate France.
So plenty for 𝓤𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 to think about in this second half. Well, now, throughout the World Cup, we will be running a competition where the more goals scored, the more money you could win.
Time now for your chance at home to win an amazing £30,000 and an extra goal-busting bonus. Every goal scored during the tournament will add an extra £250 to the £30,000 prize pot. Count up the goals and count up the jackpot. For your chance to win, just go to the website. Entries cost £2. Text GOAL to 82223. Text costs £2 plus your standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GOAL23, PO Box 7558, Derby, DE1 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Entrance must be 18 or over. Paid entry routes close at 10 a.m. on Monday, the 4th of September. Good luck.
Dreaming big. Xero accounting software proudly sponsors ITV's coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023. Xero accounting software proudly sponsors ITV's coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.
Isn't there? And you can join us tomorrow morning for a triple header of World Cup action, starting with Italy versus Argentina, followed by the two-time champions Germany against Morocco, and it ends with Brazil taking on Panama. We've got your Monday morning sorted. Okay, so it is goalless between France and Jamaica. Let's see if either team managed to find the breakthrough in this second half. It's back to the commentary box to get the thoughts of Emma Hayes, who is alongside Sam Matterface.
Yeah, thank you, Seema. 40,000 tickets available for tonight's game in Group F in Sydney. And it is a tough group, this, isn't it? Jamaica and Panama, emerging talents. France and Brazil, the big hitters. France under the cosh a little bit in this first half. Brazil runners-up in 2007, and they're the team that France take on next in Brisbane. So, Emma, this is really important for France to come away with 3 points here.
It is, but they've got to do better first. And I think one of the things they struggled with in the first half perhaps will settle down as spaces appear, because they failed to break down a very stubborn and compact Jamaica team.
Well, that was the first half of football at a World Cup that Jamaica had not conceded in, just to underline that stubbornness. And you can see at the bottom of your screen the two sets of 11s scrolling down the bottom. There is 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who I think would have been a little bit disappointed with the lack of control that France had in that first 45. Blackwood's delivery headed away by Renard. And that's a mistake by Spence, and now 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 can lead a charge, and they do have numbers in support here, France. Majri took too long. And Shayna Matthews got back to just slow the attack, which was threatening to run away from Jamaica.
What a great recovery from Shayna Matthews. Really was. There were numbers on the back post. Took too long for Majri to get the ball out of her feet and deliver into space.
That's won another free kick, from which they will try to cultivate another chance for Wendy Renard. Shayna Matthews, who often alternates with Shaw, second World Cup for her.
You can see the way France are setting up. They want that front post space. They want to whip it in that corridor.
Different taker this time. This is Clara Mateo. Matthews and Wilshere in the wall. Ryan Sampson just occupying the space by the penalty spot, waiting for a runner, acting as a blocker. It's in towards that near post. It flicked up off Blackwood, and it looks as if it's going to be a corner.
Jamaica can solve that problem really easily by putting a zonal player there. You see that space between the wall and their first defender. It's a massive gap.
𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰 comes short. Mateo goes longer into the box. It's headed away. And Chantal Swaby. Clara Mateo. Majri rushed her attempt to get it into the centre, and Spence has now released Matthews. Shaw running through behind Jodie Brown, but didn't make up the ground. Atlanta Primus was the quickest there. Shaw just coming into the picture now. Maybe needed someone just to hold the ball up just slightly before they went on the rampage.
It's hard for sure. She's the central zone player in the set pieces. But intention is clear. Like I said, I think Drew Spence had a good first half, winning the ball again and just releasing it to Blackwood.
Spence again winning the ball. Primus can't get away from 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Flicked on towards Diani, and then there was, I think, control by the hand. You know that Brazil play Panama in Adelaide tomorrow at midday, live on ITV1. You will be thinking about this result and what pressure it applies to Brazil. If they can get 3 points here, and then beat Brazil in their second game, they should be home and host through to the next round of the competition. They have won their last 3 opening matches at the Women's World Cup. A problem over on the far side which needs dealing with.
A good header from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, just goes in on the back of Brown.
Jodie Brown, who was in good form with Florida State this year. Can be a handful, but looks like she took a hell of a whack from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 of Montpellier. He's been linked with a move to Real Madrid. Well, because of geography, these two don't meet very often, but Lorne Donnison and his team usually play teams from their region, and the likes of USA are probably the biggest side that they face on a relatively semi-regular basis. And a year ago, they were thrashed 5-0 and 4-0 in their last 2 meetings with the States. So it just shows you that they are still an emerging team. And I think even in the last 12 months, they've come a very long way in making sure that they don't concede too many goals. Became more stubborn, more compact, and that's certainly been in evidence in the opening 52 minutes here. The bad news for Jamaica is that the last 7 goals that France have scored at World Cup finals have come in the second half of matches.
Well, they're certainly committing more numbers forward, that's clear. But accessing those players is what is France's problem. Certainly 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is the single pivot. She's not getting on the ball. And as a result of that, 𝓳𝓻𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is left to make those playmaking decisions.
Shaw has bundled away past 𝓳𝓻𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. He attempted to stand up to her and couldn't. They've given the ball away cheaply again, France. It's been a theme of the evening in Sydney. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, eyes darting, but no one to pass the ball to. Eventually gives it back to Gayorro. This is 𝓳𝓻𝓪. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 waiting in the centre. Numbers arriving on the edge of the box. Cross from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 goes straight out off Blackwood. It's another corner.
What I am seeing, though, as I've mentioned before, more numbers going forward. 5 numbers in the box when the ball went out wide. It's just a case of capitalising, particularly on the number of set pieces they're starting to get. Mixing it up from this side of the pitch, looking to dump the ball centrally on top of Spencer.
Towards that near post, Blackwood away. Not the most accurate delivery from 𝓳𝓻𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Thought it was quite interesting to watch Wendy Renard just rather dismissively hand off Alison Swaby just a moment ago, as if to say, don't bother coming near me. 𝓳𝓻𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Diani! Well, she got up above the marker, but couldn't direct a header on target.
But the first cross of Worth, really good play from 𝓳𝓻𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, rolls the defender. And Diani at the back post. Gets something on it, but not clean enough.
Tanya Wilshire just did enough to put her off, I think. But she's come the closest, hasn't she?
Yeah, they're definitely improved on the first half performance. They're coming into the game.
Gayorro. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Majri wanted it played down the side and gets there, but Blackwood does brilliantly just to position herself between ball and opponent.
Having to do that work. Sees it out of play.
A little bit of frustration creeping in. Jackie Spencer's really enjoyed playing with the Reggae girls. Dad is Jamaican. She's thrived in a Jamaican shirt. She will be delighted to get to 55 minutes and not to have conceded to the European semi-finalists.
She's going to have to deal with a different threat. It looks like Ħaġrī and Mateo have switched wings.
Brown for Jamaica. This is short. There's a little dangle of a leg there from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 that I think she thought about putting a challenge in and then decided it would be better not to. And we haven't had any penalties today. Bearing in mind, up until today, we'd had one in every single game. That might come as a bit of a surprise to you. 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 inviting 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 to chase. Dealt with well by 𝓳𝓨𝓏. And dealt with well by Spencer.
Well, 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, she's looking to get on the ball every given moment. Really looking to drive the team on this second half.
Renard. Good touch by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲. Quicker tempo about France in the second half. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Cross hits the back of the Jodie Brown and goes out for another corner.
And look at the difference it makes with Renard stepping in to midfield. Draws one of the Jamaican midfielders out.
Renard, only the second manager in history to take charge of teams at the Men's and Women's World Cups. No one has done it with two nations, or indeed in the space of 9 months. Aimed in towards 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓸𝓷𝓰 again. Well defended by Jamaica.
And that's why she's the central player in that zone. On one level, man marking Renard would best suit her, but leaving her central in that area gives Jamaica so much more protection.
It's another feather in the cap for Donaldson, isn't it, the coach, who's set them up well today. Deeper one from Mateo, flicked away by Shaw again, comes back to 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓼, and the second touch wasn't as good as the first.
What it does signal, though, is France really taking hold of the game. They're growing into it. I think there's more gaps appearing. And although 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓼 gets under it, I think the momentum is really shifting in their favour.
Whatever Renard said at half-time, it seems to have made an impact.
I think the change of wingers is going to bring a different dimension, a little bit like Wiegman did yesterday.
I was going to say, it didn't quite work for England, though, did it?
And I'm not entirely sure it's working now, because ħaġrī having to get on the ball underneath from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, I think will be a little more difficult with how compact Jamaica are. I feel like they need more runs into those inner corridors inside the box.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓸𝓷𝓰. Now 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷 on the charge again. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷 motoring into the centre. So visible with that long stride and that flowing blue hair. Here she is again. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 tried the intelligent back heel. Alison Swaby was there to intervene and to stop it from reaching its intended target, but there is a bit more swagger and a bit more confidence about France.
Well, they're moving this Jamaica team across the pitch. They're having to do more running.
Issue here for Chantel Swaby. Seems to have recovered her faculties. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Away by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
I look down the French bench and think about the attacking options. Yes, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 could come into this game. I say another player, but not many options.
Well, only one of their players that's on the bench is listed as injured, and that's 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who we knew beforehand wasn't going to be able to play. But we also know with good authority that 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is not ready to play.
That's why I didn't mention her, because you could push 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 higher.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Those options have just sort of dwindled for him over the course of the last couple of months, really.
I mean, 60 minutes, how many clear-cut chances? Yes, the deflected effort from Diani, but beyond that...
Yeah, the best chance before that was probably the corner kick, which was missed by Renard and punched away by Spencer. The referee getting a little bit frustrated with the Jamaicans about time wasting. Maybe the sort of time, I suppose, that the coach starts thinking about making a change and freshening things up.
Especially the longer the game goes on. I mentioned before, Jamaica are used to being with around 30% possession anyway, so they're comfortable being like that.
Primus releases Spence, who looks for Shaw. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 gets there just in front of Bonnie Shaw.
Ah, such a shame. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 didn't pick up on Drew Spence's intention a little sooner, but well read by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
It's going to be a goal kick.
Just having to do a little more work. You can see Shaw doesn't want to do the pressing from this position. And I think France have been able, as the half has gone on, to be able to get into Jamaica's half a little easier.
Primus wins it back. Shaw again turning, but there's no one really available to her. It's cut out by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 was intelligent. This is promising for France. Look how much she is getting on the ball now.
Well, look at 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, the left back. She's gone and drifted into the centre midfield area because she desperately wants to create chances.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 firing it into Diani. Comes through to 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷. Couldn't get it under control. The offside flag may well have come up here. There may have been an infringement as she tried to burst her way in. Grace 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷 of Paris Saint-Germain.
I've not seen much of goal. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 certainly a goal threat.
And they struggled in that game against Australia to get the balance right between attack and defence. We've mentioned it over and over again, the players that they're missing, but imagine if they had Amandine Henry in this team. Imagine if they had Briège Mbok, Selma Basha.
But I think they've gone with two today in midfield because they're worried about the transitions. But I think it takes something away from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷.
One ball up towards Matthews, whose header is on target, but nothing more than a simple catch for Perrault Magnon. And it's quickly bowled out into the path of Clara Mateo. He's kept hold of it, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷. Mashri wanted it, but it's out to Lacroix. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷. Good touch by Le Sommer. Great run by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷. Decent-looking cross, just a little bit too heavy for ̓̓𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. 𝓣𝓱𝓪 will recycle it. It's aimed in towards that 6-yard area where 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 dealt with it. Offside flag was up when that ball came in.
I was just looking at Jamaica's midfield. It's probably the first time in the game they've failed to get up to the ball. It's so deep, not from this passage, but prior to that. They've done so much work, Primus, Spence, in that area. Might need to consider those options the longer the game goes on.
Here's 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. And Vicky Becco of Lyon coming on as well. Rarely a starter for a club, young, only 19 years of age.
Becco will bring huge pace. And 𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓼, as we've seen, particularly in the WSL, she's ranked top for goal-creating actions in our league.
Go forward, looking for 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. ̓̓𝓲𝓷𝓲 and Matteo with the players replaced. 𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷. And a cross is a good one. Aimed towards 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷. What a chance. And an immediate impact from the substitute from Aston Villa, 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷.
Oh, what a ball from 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷. Quick interchange on the sides. It's a wonderful ball to the back post. Not to take anything away from 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷, but if Katoto's playing, that goes in the back of the net.
Marie-Antoinette Katoto, whose injury has stopped her from playing in the World Cup finals. Much missed by France. Renard. Bounding forward. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 looking for 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓪, and she felt she was impeded.
I didn't think there was much in that. He's certainly frustrated, felt aggrieved.
He's very popular in Africa after his work with Zambia, Ivory Coast and Morocco, and in Saudi Arabia as well, Renard. The country changes, but the demands and the passion and the crisp white shirt and the blonde locks don't.
I've been waiting for that crisp white shirt comment.
You a fan?
It looks fantastic.
That crisp white shirt might get ruined in this rain.
There's too much starch in it, it's fine.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. It's a deep one, looking for 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓷𝓰 at the far post, and Blackwood had to be alert to the danger. And was, luckily for Jamaica, well aware of the coordinates of 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲 hoping to just set that back, but again wasn't accurate enough with it. Cascarino. Lacroix. Becco. That's a good cross. Maybe just a little bit too close to the goalkeeper.
But they're certainly pushing Jamaica back. Sampson and Spence are getting lower and lower in the game because there's so many crosses coming from different areas. And as a result of that, they're dropping deep for the second balls. And they're unable to get out for the first ball and get the press on.
Big call, is it, to bring in someone like Vicky Becco, so only her second cap tonight?
I wasn't overly impressed with Matteo. I think it's a safe bet for a change and have a look at the pace, especially as the pitch is opening up. I've seen her pace firsthand. She's really difficult to defend against.
A little bit low from 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 has played in Israel, America and Finland. First taste of the World Cup tonight. A couple of changes here. And Shayna Matthews is off. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is another one who's coming off.
I think this is much needed. A sub into the middle of the pitch. Primus has put in so much work.
Solar Washington. And the player who scored the only ever goal that Jamaica have managed at a World Cup in 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 of the Houston Dash.
I think really good timing for the subs for Jamaica. Needed something a little fresh.
Washington, first impact. Cross was blocked and 𝓣𝓱𝓪 manages to clear. Shaw rams it against 𝓳𝓻𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. We've still got 20 minutes to go, plus added time. And this is going to be a big result if Jamaica pull it off.
Absolutely. I think one thing for them is that they've got to be brave in terms of staying as compact as possible. Look at the spaces that are starting to appear on the pitch. It's easier for France to get from back to front.
It wouldn't quite be Saudi Arabia beating Argentina, but 5th against 43rd in the world. It would be a shock, certainly. One of the bigger ones that we've had so far. And that's why there's a bit more urgency about France. They know. And they've got a tough game to come against Brazil next. 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who's got better and better as the game's gone on. 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, didn't quite steer it back into the path of 𝓤𝓤𝓪.
But I think the introduction of 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is a big one for them. She's not a player that's going to hug this left-hand touchline. She'll come low to get on the ball as well. She's certainly bringing 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 further into the game.
That was a bit hefty. Renard and Bunny Shaw coming together.
Wow, that was a strong challenge. I was surprised Shaw went for it initially. Doesn't take her eyes off of it the whole time. Doesn't see Renard.
Back on her feet once again. Manchester City's Khadija Bunny Shaw.
Had to do so much work without the ball for her team, and particularly the second half, to get less and less service. She's just shuffling across to stop the switches.
Good ball from 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. If she could have squeezed that past 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓬𝓪 and then on to 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓰, who'd made the run in the inside channel.
I think if something good is going to come from this game in open play, 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓰's going to be involved. I think 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓰 in particular, she's got the ability to put balls into good areas, but she needs the overlapping run of 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓰.
Spence tosses it up for Shaw to chase. 𝓳𝓻𝓪𝓷𝓬𝓪 looks as if she was being harassed there from behind. You want to hear that stomp coming from behind you, would you? Bunny Shaw putting the pressure on. And there's always the threat of Jamaica on the break. As France look to go in search of that goal that's going to put them in front. Blackwood.
Long distance. I don't think it was ever going to cause any problems from there.
It's hard to believe that this Jamaica team stopped playing because of a lack of funds. Disbanded at one stage.
The team had to set up GoFundMe pages to raise money for their preparations. It's also a team that have suffered tragedy too. Jamaica youth player 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 was killed in a shooting on her way to a club training just days before the national team secured their place at this summer's World Cup. 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓴𝓼 held up a jersey displaying her name after the win over Haiti that clinched qualification. Not easy to cope with at this group. And they're showing resilience here. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. And another save by Spencer.
The first time we've seen that intricate play and link up between 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 and 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. As I mentioned, those spaces are starting to grow. Good defending again from Jamaica there, forcing 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 away from goal. It made it difficult all game to get any clear-cut chances.
Renard. Can they find a way past this stubborn Jamaican team? Can Jamaica hold on for the next 14 minutes plus injury time? 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 is becoming increasingly influential in the game. Loses out.
I think the problem, she's coming inside with 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 going outside, and I'd like to see it the opposite way around.
Here's 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷. It's a decent looking cross as well. Almost connected 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷, but then almost scooted through to 𝓣𝓱𝓪. And 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷 didn't wait before putting it in.
Again, good contribution from 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲. Brilliant whip into the box.
𝓣𝓱𝓪. That's a good tackle that from Blackwood. And France have to nudge themselves in front. They know winning this group, this tough group, is important because you get through this is arguably a winnable last 16 against Morocco, South Korea or Colombia, someone like that. And then maybe, if you're lucky, and get through that game as well, Australia in the quarterfinals. And this has been tighter than many expected. Cross is deep.
Too deep and too inconsistent. And that's been their problem from set pieces throughout the game. They've got into good situations. Failed to deliver.
Well, the semi-finals last year was their best ever showing at a major tournament, France. I think raised optimism when they won their opening game of the last World Cup on home soil that might be the year that they started to show some international success, but that ended in disappointment too. And this is not the kind of start that the French public were expecting. That's good from Jamaica. Jodie Brown and Spence combining well to take the pressure off. Short. Washington trying to stop it from reaching 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, look how deep she is, the centre forward. Poor control from 𝓣𝓱𝓪. Blackwood away. The conditions are helping things because of the torrential rain we've had in the last 10 minutes, but it has got a little bit scrappy.
Yeah, it's definitely not helping. But France in general have struggled throughout these 79 minutes to keep the ball at top level. So much turnover from them. Like you said, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 so deep just to get on the ball. Really have to credit Jamaica, and in particular the work of the entire unit. they've been really difficult to break down. They've put a shift in.
World Cup number 5 for France. Their best performance finishing 4th in 2011. The good news is, with 10 minutes to go, and the good news for 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is they've never been involved in a 0-0 at a World Cup finals.
As I've said twice throughout this is the closest World Cup between teams for good reason. It is a lot harder to get a win. You can see, even though there's been moments, Jamaica, I think, have tired. Donaldson's made changes, and a lot of these players play professionally. Yes, their focus and concentration, this last part is key. But I can't see why they can't hang on to a 0-0.
That was 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 I saw in the crowd there for a second.
Did he have his tash?
He certainly did. It's quite an impressive one. 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who's been impressive, looks a little bit worse for wear, and that's a big concern.
Well, hopefully not. The world deserves to see 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 on the biggest stage. Really enjoyed watching her play today.
Jamaica captain slowly but surely making her way to the near touchline. Lorne Donnison does have a decision to make. I don't think she'll want to come off to you.
No way.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 back underway in Sydney with 9 minutes to go, plus added time. France desperate for a winner in the context of the group. So important that they get one. Jamaica a point here, and that puts them in a really good position too. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 forcing the corner. She wants to get things moving quickly. She wants France on the front foot. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 with the delivery. It's a deep one. Rinaldi's arriving. It was behind 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. And away by Wiltshire. Quick thinking from Darley and 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Creating a chance for Wendy Renard.
I mean, on this evidence, Darley should be starting, but once again, we're seeing the outswing delivery from France, something they favour.
Well, they're forcing the issue, but can they make it count? 7 minutes to go. Again, they'll look for Wendy Renard.
Or will they foul to find that delivery? I think Darley coming onto the pitch, more incisive.
11 corners, they haven't made the most of them up until this point. They didn't find Renard there. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓰 a little bit short back to 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who's given it away to Brown. Washington got it stuck under her feet. Managed to keep possession for Jamaica and take the pressure off just for a moment. Spencer sends it long. Still haven't seen the return yet of Shaw. I think she's back on the pitch. There she is in the centre of the centre circle. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓰. Washington harassing her, not allowing her to slip from her grasp. And it's a Jamaican free kick for handball against 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓰.
Once again, brilliant defending. Not for the first time, Washington dispossessing.
Somehow Washington is the youngest member of the squad. She's still in high school.
Brilliant. It's great for all the girls back home watching.
Don't worry, she's still being made to do her homework while she's on this trip.
Frustrating performance from France. Even with 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓰, the spaces are on the outside, and yet they've tried to funnel so much inside. and really have only looked dangerous from set pieces. Merely half chances.
Well, well, well. Bunny Shaw holding off the French defence to win a corner with 5 minutes to go.
You can see what the crowd want.
It would be some story. And this is where 𝓣𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 has got to make sure that she puts in a perfect delivery. It's aimed into a congested area. It comes back to Shaw, who tries to hit it. It took a little deflection, did it?
Such a shame. I thought it was a brilliant delivery.
Shaw didn't get it cleanly struck.
You can see it bounce back off her.
She hit it against 𝓣𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who then ricocheted off the back of Shaw's shoulder, I think, in the end. She's a handful. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 blocked again by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Darling gets it back to 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Now is operating on the outside. Can she get the cross in? 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 again, very deep. Washington nabs it. And they're off again. Bunny Shaw wrestling with Cascarino. No quarter given or asked from anyone. And they've worked incredibly hard, Jamaica. It would almost be criminal now for them to lose a point in this game. 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. That's away by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Deflection takes it behind and away for another corner. They have given everything.
Absolutely.
Darley to take it. She's made an impact since coming off the bench. Her cross is a good one. And the header is over the top from 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷.
I mean, I almost can't believe Kenza Darley doesn't start for this team. When you think what she offers by way of set pieces and everything else, the best chances have come from her deliveries. And 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷, don't think she caught it as she wants. It hits her shoulder. But even in the last part of the game, I think if France can get the ball to Darley to deliver,
there's not been too many clear-cut chances in the game. I mean, a lot of half chances and opportunities, let's say.
this is quite normal for France at this current time. They don't create a lot of clear-cut chances.
They won't be doing too much damage to that expected goals figure you gave me earlier on.
No, I know. I think it would be exactly the same.
𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 trying to bend it towards the edge of the box, dealt with by a backpedaling Alison Swaby. Those two sisters at the heart of the Jamaican defence have done a brilliant job. The fullbacks have worked incredibly hard, Blackwood and Wiltshire, protected by Sampson in front of them. Washington's come on and done a good job too.
Oh, the whole team, every single player.
Darley into the last minute. Renard. Still not enough urgency about France, not enough desperation. Beko into the box. 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰 comes off the top of the crossbar from 𝓣𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰's header. Well, 𝓣𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓷 went diving towards that ball.
Well, luck's on Jamaica's side, but what a delivery from Beko. And 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 almost came from nowhere, off the back shoulder.
That was a good chance. And she has had some chances. In the first half, right at the end, a deflected effort that went narrowly wide, hit the crossbar and the post now in one moment. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who is more of a winger than a centre-forward, but has been the centre-forward for most of the game. There are 6 added minutes. Is that the last chance for France gone? Beko. Gayoro. Hasn't 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 done well?
Absolutely brilliant, and I would tell her that. But I do think the entire team has done a tremendous job. Sampson alongside her in midfield. They've covered ground, they've made it difficult.
Jodie Brown. Renard with Shaw for company. And that was a little bit extra. And Shaw has already been booked. And this could be trouble for the Jamaican captain.
No.
It's a second yellow card, followed by a red. And Manchester City's star player, Jamaica's star player, is sent off. And as a result, she'll miss their second game.
I thought initially it was needless from Shaw. Renard's going towards the touchline. You can't fault the intention, but its timing goes down. You see a trailing leg catches Renard.
It is a red card for Bunny Shaw.
Don't think she left the official any choice.
It's 2 yellows, isn't it, for 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰? That means we're up to 4 yellows in the game, the most yellows that we've had in any game at the World Cup so far. And a sending off, which means that Lorne Donaldson goes into his second game without arguably the focal point of his attack and his best player.
Oh, such a shame. She's been such a joy to watch.
And that could hamper their progress when they play Panama. 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. And what they don't want is to compound that sending off with an error that leads to a France winner in the last few seconds of the game. Can they hold on here, Jamaica? Now down to 10 players. 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, big delivery. Headed away by 𝓳𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Further clear by Brown. Collected by Washington. Is brilliantly dragging her team up the pitch and away from danger. Pauline Perrault-Mignon. 𝓳𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Donaldson urging his team to get back into shape. They want to make a substitution here, France, for the final few seconds of the game. Marina Fazer is ready to come on. Drifted in by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Well, that's a mistake by Blackwood. And recovered from it, managed to deal with it. But here come France again. Beko crosses the ball deep. Goalkeeper comes, didn't quite reach it. Did enough, just enough, Becky Spencer. Back in again by 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. That's really dangerous. Comes back towards 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷. Couldn't get it under control enough to find the kind of violence it needed to take it beyond the goalkeeper.
Oh, they're hanging on. You see the second phase. Sampson can't quite get around 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷, but Spencer, who's been impeccable for her team, just underneath it, collapses onto it to try and buy her team some valuable seconds.
Well, many of the big nations have not hit their straps, have not come out roaring. USA didn't really finish off Vietnam as many thought they might. England, disappointing at times yesterday. Australia took their time against Ireland. Japan and Spain putting markers down. It's a long competition, but this will be a disappointment for France. Cross comes in again, straight into the arms of Becky Spencer. Now they would have been expecting to win this group, vying for Brazil, taking them on to try and win this group. It's going to make it a lot more difficult now for France. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 ripped up a lucrative contract with Saudi Arabia that he had until 2027 to take charge of France. He earns about a quarter of the salary that he was on in the Middle East. And he said he had an instinct for this team. Becco. I wonder if his belief has been shaken today. "20 seconds to hang on for Jamaica. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Lacroix. The cross is aimed towards 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Drops on the edge of the box. Spence is there in time and wins the free kick, which should take the pressure off and should seal the point for Jamaica.
And what a brilliant point it would prove to be, regardless of 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 being sent off for 2 bookable yellows. They've been tremendous defensively, and it's taken France far too long to wake up. But with Dali's introduction, I think for sure she needs to be on the pitch.
A first ever World Cup point for Jamaica. And it is a point that rocks the French onto their heels. 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 led Saudi Arabia to one of the biggest shocks at the Men's World Cup. He is now on the other end of a chastening result that will tip the balance in Group F in favour of Brazil. But after all the fallouts on both sides, it's a night for Jamaica to revel in the spotlight. It's a big point for them, especially seeing as they had their captain and leader, Bunny Shaw, sent off in added time. But it's a vital, vital point for Lorne Donaldson and his team, who played their hearts out in Sydney tonight. It's finished France 0, Jamaica 0.
Well, it might have ended goalless, but there was definitely plenty to talk about. You'd have to say for France, most of the chances fell for 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. 5 of the 14 attempts, in fact, were registered by her. But the story of this match was the fact that Jamaica, the Reggae Girls, have registered their very first point at a World Cup. They did so well, didn't they? And you can see exactly what it means to them from those celebrations. Congratulations to them, considering their star girl as well was sent off as well. We'll come to that in a bit. But let's talk about the story of the game. When you look at it from France's perspective, 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, again, was the player that had most of the chances.
Yeah, she did in the second half. They pushed her from right wing up to centre forward to try and get the crosses into her to get those opportunities. But she had 2 chances, one very late on. Cross came in from Becca and then she headed it and hit the crossbar. But she was their most threatening player. I must say I was disappointed with France's attacking play, but here she is. 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 that came on, made a difference, crosses it in. She's got to score that for me. You're in between the defenders, brilliant opportunity. This was the one again, really late on. Becca substitute, come on, puts it in. She's in exactly where you want, right in between in the defence, and just doesn't get a connection on it and then hits the crossbar. But that was France's best opportunities, crosses and set pieces. So from attacking perspective, I was bitterly disappointed by them today.
So what's Eva working on between now and their next match?
The attacking play. Just the connections, they weren't there. But I thought they were better second half when they went to a 4-4-2 and pushed 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷 higher up. But I was disappointed. There's a bit of work to be done there.
OK, as for Jamaica, Bunny Shaw. I mean, it doesn't take the gloss off the fact that they've taken a point, but it's a massive blow.
Yeah, first of all, it's a brilliant point. It is an absolutely brilliant point for Jamaica. We cannot get away from that.
No.
You know, this is a team 4 years on from their first World Cup, clearly much more experienced, much more nous about them. We showed in the first half they defended brilliantly. Bunny Shaw led the line brilliantly. But yeah, it's very, very disappointing for Bunny Shaw because the next game is Panama. And
that's one they would expect it to win.
They will be confident that they can win that game, which puts them 4 points in what is a difficult group. You know, this is the first tackle. It is a yellow card. You know, but it's easy for me to sit here in the comfort of my studio and criticise this because at the end of the day, Bunny Shaw, she was up for it today. She gave everything. She covered a lot of distance, but this is the 90th minute, and it's just silly. It's silly. She doesn't need to do it. Renard is by the touchline. She's not going anywhere. And you can see, she knows it. She knows the red card's coming. She knows it's silly. She knows she's out of the next game. But I have to say, she was brilliant today. She was absolutely exceptional for her team. A big reason why they've got that point. You know, Drew Spence, another one I've got to highlight. Yes, she's my mate, but I have to say, she played fantastically well. But they'll be disappointed, Bunny Shaw. But I still think they've got enough to get a win against Panama.
They really did impress, though, didn't they? I mean, to keep that France team at bay, who have so many Champions League medals between those 11 players on that pitch. But for them to pick up their first point at a World Cup, how big is that, Karen?
It's massive. We saw at the end the celebrations, and they thoroughly deserved it. I mean, Donaldson, the manager, has to take a lot of praise for how he organised the team, made them hard to beat. For me, it was a joy watching them. Honestly, just how, and I know I mentioned how poor France were in attack, but you have to credit so much for Jamaica, the organisation, the shape, the effort. And where I was anxious at half-time was going, can they keep this up? Can they keep the energy? Will they tire? You know, France brought on subs, still didn't matter. Bodies in front of the ball, blocking everything. That's the passion, and they'll be so proud of them back home in Jamaica, and they really should be proud of them.
That's 43 rank. So Jamaica ranked 43 against 5th rank France.
Yeah.
And I think this has become the story so far of this World Cup, where the debut nations or the nations with, you know, higher ranked, the gaps.
Yeah.
Imagine if they were better resourced, Denny.
Yeah, and we talked about it.
Preparation,
Imagine if they just had that more support, they could do even more. But a brilliant performance from Jamaica.
Plenty to be proud of for Jamaica. Well, after the break, we will get an update from the England camp. Now, 24 hours on from their opening win over Haiti, which prompted more questions than answers. We'll be answering those questions in a moment. We're back just after this break.
Dreaming big. Zero Accounting Software proudly sponsors ITV's coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023.
I like something that no one else has had, which is ironic.
England survived a tough test against Haiti yesterday, but with 3 points secured, it was job done, as Katie Shanahan reports.
It may not have been a spectacle, as the Lionesses looked rusty and lacked cutting edge in their World Cup opener. But 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 came to the rescue after a VAR decision gave her a second chance to put England in front.
It is World Cup liftoff for the Lionesses.
Goalkeeper Mary Earps kept England in it, not once, but twice, as the Lionesses were firing blanks up front. A constant reminder to Sarina Wiegman that they haven't scored from open play in 3 months. The European champions, though, are off to a winning start, but captain Millie Bright is not shying away from the challenges ahead.
As always, we're always competitive, we always want more, we always want to be better. But I think ultimately it's about getting the job done, and sometimes in football you have to play ugly. In tournaments, that's what it requires, getting the job done, and they definitely posed a lot of threats tonight, which we expected.
The team had a threat on the counter, they're powerful, they're strong, they're quick, and we dealt with it in the end and got the 3 points, and that's the most important thing.
Now the Lionesses have their first game out the way, the focus switches to Denmark. This morning, the team took part in a lighter session in Brisbane, with the majority of the starting 11 staying back at the hotel for recovery. Apart from captain Millie Bright, Mary Earps and Jess Carter, who all took part in training. Now Sarina Wiegman and the team head back to the beach and come here to the stunning shores of 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, where this will be their base camp for the rest of the tournament. But let's face it, there'll be no time to social or party on the beach, as Sarina and the team have work to do if they're to progress deep into this tournament.
Oh, it does look stunning there, doesn't it? Now, Katie mentions, of course, there is work to do. What's the priority for Sarina Wiegman then?